Moving on now, it's day 2 of the loan defaulting India's businessman Vijay Mallya's extradition hearing in London. Vijay Mallya is wanted in India on charges of fraud and money laundering amounting to more than $1 billion. Today his defense team will begin laying out its counter-arguments against the case. On the opening day of the trial, the Indian government asserted that the embattled liquor baron had a case of fraud to answer. The prosecution had laid out what it termed as 3 chapters of dishonesty by Mallya. The first being misrepresentations to various banks to acquire loans. Then how he misused the money, and finally his conduct after the banks recalled the loans. Vijay Mallya was arrested by Scotland Yard on an extradition warrant in April this year, but he has been out on bail on a bond worth £650,000. His trial is scheduled to end on the 14th of December. And joining us on this story, we have our bureau chief in London, Mandy Clark. Good evening, Mandy. Thank you very much for joining us on the broadcast tonight. So I understand you have been in court. Vijay Mallya is very much a man whom many wait here in India, perhaps not exactly the nicest people on earth. In fact, jail keepers are waiting for him. How is the case being represented in the UK? Is the press following it? Is there any high attention, any media hype on this?
The coverage of the case that started on Monday, the local papers did cover it. They have a very balanced view. They say that he is alleged to have defrauded and that his extradition is hearing, but there's not a great mass following. It's just of interest since ultimately there's so many international reporters here covering the case. It certainly has garnered that international angle. This morning, the defense laid out their arguments, and they have picked holes in the evidence of the prosecution, going point by point. His defense lawyer, Claire Montague, has a much more flair in her style. The prosecution lawyer, Mark Sumner's, was quite pragmatic in his approach. She is more flair. She quips a lot, and she makes a lot of points that the evidence does not indicate that he's defrauded. In fact, that it goes in his favor. So both sides arguing, making a strong case on why he should or should not go. She is still presenting the evidence for the defense at the moment, and expected to continue. And in the afternoon here in the UK, we'll hear the first witness for the defense, who is apparently an aviation expert.
And Mandy, is there a pattern that the UK government follows when it comes to extradition case, or this is a very much case by case, a case specific proceeding?
The UK will extradite if they can. They have very good relations with India, but Vijay Mallya put in an injunction through the court, and once it's in the court system, there's very, very little that the government can do. It's really up to the judiciary to decide whether there is a case to answer for and if he can safely be extradited to India. We haven't heard any evidence so far of his defense looking at the conditions of the jails. Really, what they are saying is that he didn't defraud it, and they are presenting evidence. We could see later perhaps they look at the conditions of the jails, and that's why an extradition would be unsuitable. That was speculation before the trial. We've yet to hear that. But certainly the government can do very little once it's in front of the courts.
Thank you very much. Our bureau chief in London, Mandy Clark, helping us to keep up to date regarding the case against Vijay Mallya, which is going on right now in these days up to the 14th of December. Remember, Vijay Mallya owes several Indian banks $1 billion.